Hey there, welcome to My Green Pets. This is William Green, and we are in the greenhouses at Fantasy Orchids in Louisville, Colorado, looking at the greenhouse part of my orchid collection. I've got some plants at home that we're going to see later, but first let's look at kind of the star of the show. This is Hal, Bulbophyllum echinolabium. Hal has two spikes that are finally finishing up their growth, and you could even see the beginnings of the first flower on one of these spikes. So I would expect that both of these will be blooming in the next few weeks. And then there is actually a third spike at the base of one of the bulbs there starting to push up. So in the next couple of months or so, Hal is going to have 3 flowers at the same time. Awesome. Now this one is a Diania ophrydis. It's known as a cattail orchid, and it's dormant in the winter. You can see that white dry bulb behind it, but it's got new growth coming out, and it's going to have lovely purple cattail blooms coming out soon. Other dormant orchids that are coming out, these are Cattleyas types. This is an SVO hybrid that doesn't have a name yet. Really looking forward to seeing what that looks like. This is the Cycnodes Wine Delight that was actually, it received an FCC from the AOS in 1986, I believe. And then over here is my first little Cattleyas. This is Mormodia Jumbo World with lovely dangling green flowers. All of these are growing well and ready to go for the summer. Here's another Bulbophyllum. This is Labii, and it's got a nice, actually 2 growths coming up there, a little shorter one on the right there. And we're going to be looking to see if that new growth has spots on it like the most recent leaf does. Stanhopea oculata is here, and it's got actually a couple new growths on it, although I think you can only see one in this shot. There is one more popping out there. This plant also had some speckles on the leaves during the winter. Hopefully those will clear up in the warmer summer temperatures. And then here we have Bulbophyllum medusae. I'm not sure why her leaves are so yellow. I did not have that problem when I was growing it outdoors in Kentucky, but here in the greenhouse it's very yellow looking. It might be light, might be nutrition, not sure why. Now, believe it or not, I was realizing that if you look around, most of my collection are Cattleya types, actually, and it just kind of happened suddenly. This is a Rhyncholalia aristocrat with really nice powdery white leaves. And here's a classic Cattleya Jose Marti. This white Cattleya used to be very popular in the cut flower industry for Mother's Day flowers. And then this is the RLC Jessie Lee Hawaii that you saw in the orchid show this past weekend. It's got 2 new growths at least. The flowers have come off, and it's ready to start growing. Hopefully it'll start growing and bloom later in the season. All the other Cattleyas that you can see, we're looking at the new growth. These are siblings of Cattleya rex, and these came out of a flask in 2014, so here we are 6 years later, and got some nice new big growths coming out. They are not going to be seedlings for much longer. They're growing really well. Some of them have got 2 growths. This one actually bloomed last summer, so technically it's an adult plant. It has a nice big seed pod with, I've been told, millions of seeds inside, so that's exciting. It's got a new growth pushing out, and just really fingers crossed that this plant is going to be able to put out some nice roots and plump up those bulbs for the next growth. Here's another plant, another Rex that bloomed last summer, and it's also looking a little bit yellow, but you can see there's new root growth and a new lead heading out on that one. I'm not sure if it's going to bloom this summer or not. And then here are some little Rexes that, man, they just haven't grown. It's hard to believe they're the same age as those others, but they've just been very, very slow. Okay, well, as you can see, the plants that I keep in the greenhouse are the ones that they absolutely need those greenhouse conditions all year round. But some plants I can grow at home. Other plants that when they start to bloom in the greenhouse, I'll bring them home and enjoy them while they bloom. And then when the flowers drop off, then I'll send them back to the greenhouse. So let's go home and see what's going on there. Hey everybody, these are the orchids that I have at home. And so I'm going to get them out of the window and show you the ones that are blooming right now. Okay, first off we have Dendrobium Country Girl, and it is just about out of bloom, but it still has a few flowers left on it. Looking very nice. And I am going to divide this plant. You can see it does have some new growths coming up, but yeah, it's too big. So I was advised by many people on Instagram that I want 4 canes per division, and it looks like I've got about 16 canes here, so I should be able to get 4 divisions out of this plant. And I'm going to keep one and maybe get rid of the other 3. We'll see. Also got some little keikis at the top here, and these little guys, it blows me away that these root tips are still growing in spite of the fact that the humidity is 18%. It's super dry here, and yet these just really seem to be able to handle it. And I've never really had Dendrobiums before, but I did not realize how tough they are when it comes to drought. So that's great. I might be looking into some more of these guys. Second orchid I want to show you is Bulbophyllum wendlandianum, which is in full bloom. This is the 3rd day that the flowers have been open so far, and they are super cool. Really like these. Really nice. They have a fishy fragrance. They smell like anchovies, I think. But the plant itself, super pretty. Very nice indeed. Love it. Love it. So that is Bulbophyllum wendlandianum. It's got 4 new growths on it this year, but only one of them decided to bloom. So we're gonna have to work on our culture. Last year we had 2 spikes. A lot of you will recognize this from the Global Orchid Show on Saturday. This is Phalaenopsis schilleriana, and you can see several of the blooms have started to drop off, but she still has a few looking very nice. So we're still happy to have that. Once all the flowers drop off, I will cut the spike and take the plant back to the greenhouse and let it get back to growing. Now this poor thing is Paphiopedilum, and as you can see, the flowers are severely deformed this year. It's very unusual for an appletonianum to put out 2 flowers, and it also has a leaf on the spike. So if you ask me, I think that there were some growth hormones applied to this plant that caused it to, first of all, spike on a growth that only had 1 leaf. Or no, it had 1 small leaf, 1 big leaf, and then it spiked. I don't think that this plant was ready to spike, but it did anyway. And so here it is. But you know what? I could just cut it off, but I kind of like it. Colors are still nice. Better than nothing, right? Now here's a much prettier flower. This is Paphiopedilum tonsum. And tonsum bloomed last year and pretty much did just about the same thing this year. One single flower, really nice spots on the petals. Shiny lip with just a little bit of a dent in it on the side here. But very lovely little guy. And finally, a first for me. I've had this guy as long as I've had the other ones, but this is urbanianum, and I have never seen this Paph in bloom before, and it's rather nice. Kind of pearly purple petals that are a little bit wavy, and then a really short dorsal, actually, not really big here. Then a nice pouch. Yeah, I like it. And the great thing about it is that there's a second bud there. Hopefully that's going to come out nicely. And then there's actually a third bud down here. So Paph urbanianum is doing quite well. Really liking this guy. Also, I want to show you a new plant that I got last week thanks to our good friend Cattleya and Cattleyas expert Stephen Van Camp and Lewis. This is a Cattleya walkeriana from his collection, and it's got nice big fat bulbs on it. And I've got it potted in granite in a plastic pot. Right now I've got it at home just to kind of keep an eye on it, but I will be taking it to the greenhouse in a couple weeks probably. And it's got 2 new growths on it, and really excited to see what this little guy does. As you saw in the greenhouse earlier, my collection is quickly becoming lots of Cattleyas, which I guess I kind of knew it was going to happen with all the seedlings, but now it's really becoming evident. So that's not a bad thing. The Cattleyas do really well at that greenhouse, so I'm going to keep on keeping on with those. Well guys, that's it for this update of My Green Pets. Thank you for hanging out and checking out My Green Pets. We'll see you next time, and until then, happy growing.